Okay, thank you all so much. It's 12:02. We're going to get started. My name is Susana Peredo Swap. I am the founder of Vanguard Culture. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that works to advance San Diego's creative workforce. I'm also wearing the hat of the Arts and Culture lead for the Design Action Network here in San Diego. And you'll hear more from me a little bit later. But in order to get started, we first have to start with El Mero Mero, our CEO of World Design Capital San Diego Tijuana 2024, Carlos de la Mora. Welcome, Carlos.
Thank you, Susana, and thank you everyone for joining. It's a pleasure to have you all here. I'm very grateful for your interest. I'm very happy to see some friendly faces here on the screen. Bob is there. Jean, how are you? Conservatorio de Danza, me encanta. So we're going to do this both in English and Spanish, so you get most of the information out there. If there are any questions at the end that we did not touch on any of the two languages, please let us know. We're going to open a Q&A session at the end of the meeting for answering any questions. Lo voy a decir igual en español. Bienvenidos todos. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes. Gracias por el interés. Vamos a tratar de hacer esto en inglés y en español. Si hay alguna duda, bienvenido, Alex. Si hay alguna duda al final, guarden por favor sus preguntas y al final de la sesión tendremos un espacio para responder cualquier pregunta que tengan en inglés o en español. So, as I mentioned before, I am honored to be the CEO of World Design Capital San Diego Tijuana 2024. This is an effort that began many years ago here in San Diego and then in Tijuana, and collectively a large group of people made something that seemed impossible possible. We won the designation for World Design Capital in 2024. Some of you here were part of that. I know Susana was part of that. I wasn't, just for those of you who don't know. I came in very late and not knowing a lot of what had happened. I have now learned of the tremendous effort and all the time that was invested into gathering all the voices on both sides of the border to make this bid a reality, and to make this bid, if you haven't seen the bid document, I have it here because I use it as reference all the time. This is a 300-something page document that actually won us the designation, and the amount of people that worked on this is tremendous. And it's thanks to that effort that we won the designation, and then thanks to another large group of people that we continued working. And for the past year, I've been leading this group and trying to gather as many interested partners, friends, supporters, etc., to become a part of this effort. Right now, we're very happy with where we are. We have a small team in place and we're growing. As you know, we just hired Gaela Fernandez, who's in this call, as our Director of Development. We are interviewing this week for a Director of Communications and Director of Programs. As many of you know, we are receiving funds from the City of San Diego. We're very grateful to council members and for Mayor Todd Gloria for having that trust in us to really making those resources count in meaningful ways and having the impact that the city needs and that the region needs. We have similar conversations going on in Tijuana. The investment there would be done in a different way. As you know, both cities are very different in how they operate. Their economic realities are very different, but there are other currencies that don't have to do just with money. There's time, there's creativity, there's innovation, and the resources that we have in Tijuana are huge. So we're working for this to be a very balanced World Design Capital, where Tijuana and San Diego both have their space and that we work together to make the most out of it. There's people in our team that have been fundamental to gaining clarity and definition along the way, and we continue to work every single day. Every week we have advances and news and evolution and a broader engagement into what this thing can become. And let me just say something else before I pass the microphone on to someone else because Susana knows me. I can go on and on for hours when I start talking about World Design Capital. But I truly see this as a once in a lifetime opportunity for us. And it's an opportunity for meaningful regional transformation. And I think that has to do mainly with two things. Some of you may have heard me say this before. One is that we live in this unique corner of the world, and we do amazing things here, and we're very creative, we're very resourceful, and the rest of the world doesn't know that. So WDC provides a platform for us to connect to that international network of cities that we're now a part of, and that can be very powerful if we decide to take advantage of it. And the other thing is that if we analyze the lifetime of human beings on this planet, being alive today after this pandemic that allows us to rethink and reimagine the future in different ways, how we live, how we work, how we behave with each other, with our neighbor next door, with the neighbor on the other side of the border, with those who think differently than we do, those that are furthest away from opportunity. Bringing those voices into the conversation has been a very humbling experience, and that's given a very rich content to the program that we're putting together. So once again, I'm grateful for your interest. I'm also thankful for those who have, like Susana and Rudy, have been generous enough to offer their time to lead these design to action networks that were created by our friend and partner, James White, at the Design Lab at UCSD. James is part of the World Design Capital team. He leads our legacy program. Many of you already know James. And it's thanks to people like James and Olivia, also at the Design Lab, and our board of directors. I'll just mention our 5 partners just so that you know who they are. City of San Diego, City of Tijuana, University of California, San Diego, the Burnham Center for Community Advancement, and the Design Forward Alliance. Those are the 5 partners that got together to create this thing called World Design Capital. And now we are collectively working together to make this the best World Design Capital possible and the best World Design Capital that has ever been done. One last thing, each World Design Capital is different, and that has to do with our geographic location, again, and when this happens in time. And we are uniquely positioned in both aspects, both the geographical and timeline-wise, to really take advantage of this. So I'm going to leave it there. We're at the 10-minute mark, and I'd like to give the microphone to my friend and colleague, James White.
Muchas gracias, Carlos. Hi, everyone. I'm James. Thank you, Susana and Rudy, for setting this up, and thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to just give you a quick overview of the program and then the Design to Action networks, which is a really important piece of driving impact in our region through the passion and the commitment of people like Susana and Rudy. I think it's important to note that World Design Capital is broader than just design, and we've been really careful and thoughtful about including other aspects of design, and you'll see that through the focus areas that I'll share today. We want to make sure that design is seen in the broader sense and a way of solving really big, hairy, hard idea or problems that we want to solve for. So with that, the focus areas that we've chosen to focus on as World Design Capital are 6. And you can see arts and culture at the top here, including climate and sustainability, health and well-being, planning and placemaking, science and technology, youth and education. These were 6 focus areas that were driven by community engagement and community voices about what's important to people here in the region. And each of these are overlaid by the idea of regional impact, the lens of JEDI, which is justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and the idea of sustainability as well. So we're really thinking about an inclusive model as we're moving through next year. The program from top to bottom, many of you know this already, but as a organization, we have to put on 6 official signature events that Carlos is leading. And then underneath that, and Susanna will share this later, is the idea of community endorsed events that can be submitted through the public submission portal. So those are any type of ideas, activation events, or projects that you as a community feel you want us as World Design Capital to promote and endorse. A subset of those initiatives will be supported by the Design to Action Networks, which is a group of advisors that can provide you subject matter expertise to help create momentum, catalyze your project to ultimate success. So as I said, the idea of these community supported events or endorsed events fall into 4 buckets. They can be activations, they could be events, they could be exhibitions, or they could be projects. So as you go through the submission process, really think about where your project or initiative lies, and the submission process will take you through that, that form field application process. But what I'm really here to talk to you today about is the support that the community is driving via the Design to Action Networks. These are groups of people that are passionate about one or another focus area. So the 6 I shared with you. And each Design to Action Network is led by a co-lead from Tijuana and San Diego. So in this case, Susanna's from San Diego. She's a co-lead here for Arts and Culture, and Rudy from TJ. And around them, they have recruited advisors within the academic field, within the civic field, within the business field, community, and then design. So we're thinking about this as an interdisciplinary team that can provide the projects that we're supporting with the wealth of knowledge and networks that will make their project potentially successful. And this Design to Action Network is replicated for each of the focus areas, and each Design to Action Network supports a number of projects that get submitted to make up a portfolio. And each of the Design to Action Networks has their own remit and agency to support the projects they see will create the impact in our region that we really need against 4 lenses, and that is environmental, economic, social, and political. So really thinking about impact in the broadest sense. So not just in 2024, but how can we create long-lasting, meaningful impact in our region past our designation of 2024. So I'll pause there. Susanna, is there anything else, or Carlos and Rudy, that you would like me to share around the Design to Action Networks?
I think you covered it for now. We'll leave the questions open for the end. So save your questions at the end, and we'll get started on going through the submission process.
Okay. So with that, I'd love to introduce you to my my new friends, Susanna and Rudy, who are the co-leads of the Design to Action Network for Arts and Culture.
Okay, thank you. And so if you could stop share there. Thank you so much. All right. We have such a great turnout, first of all. Thank you so much for being here, for taking time out of your day, and for the interest in being part of this exciting project. And thank you, James, and thank you, Carlos. So my name is Susana Peredo-Swap, I mentioned. So I'm the co-lead representing the City of San Diego Arts and Culture sector for our Design Action Network. And Rudy Argote is representing the City of Tijuana. We're going to go through this process and show you the application process so that you get a sense of what to expect. And Rudy's going to help me translate in Spanish everything that I'm saying. Por favor.
Hola a todos. Qué gusto verlos, los que al final los que no entiendan algo en inglés, las preguntas y respuestas ahí con gusto los los contestamos y Susana básicamente ahorita se presentó y y dijo que vamos a recorrer el proceso de la aplicación para ver pues para apoyarlos y que vean cómo es que se tiene que hacer.
Okay, so let's get started. We're gonna share here. This is a slideshow a slide deck that takes you through the application process, and that way you're prepared before you begin. And so one thing I want to say is that this is a very exciting moment to be in San Diego and Tijuana right now. It's not just the World Design Capital celebrations. It's also that the region is ready for this. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. We don't get another centennial. We don't get another World Design Capital 2024. This is the moment. And so thank you for being interested and excited and stepping up to the challenge.
Bueno, estamos en un momento muy importante, muy especial, muy único. Es una oportunidad pues sí, única, ¿no? Que hay que aprovechar. Y gracias a todos los que se presentaron hoy.
Okay, so this is the first page that you'll see in the submission process. Obviously, basic information about who you are, the content, and then a brief description of your organization. If you are affiliated with an organization, this is the various business sectors that you can select. And the zip code, we're interested in knowing what region of the county, if you're in San Diego or in Tijuana, and the organizational size. And the website.
Eduardo, ¿cómo estás? Buenas tardes. Oye,
Okay. This is the information that you'll be asked. So I think this sort of repeated what I just shared. So that's the first slide that you'll see. A lo mejor es un poco obvio, pero Rudy, si ves que nos faltó algo, you can add.
Sí,
to
no,
it.
digo, esta parte es la información básica, digamos, del nombre de la organización, datos, esenciales y pues lo más importante es escoger en qué área quieren someter su proyecto.
And one thing that we want to share too is that even though most of you or all of you are here for arts and culture, it's very possible that your project or event submission is also aligned with a health and well-being component, or education, or climate change. So because of that, we highly encourage you to check off any of the boxes where it could align, because even if you don't, it gives you a better chance to be a part of it. Even if you're not selected for arts and culture, it's possible that someone in health and well-being would be interested in supporting the project.
Sí, aquí, a pesar de que todos los que estamos aquí presentes hoy es por el tema de arte y cultura, puede que haya proyectos que tengan que ver también con otras áreas, ¿no? Como educación, algo cívico, health, ¿no? Entonces, tecnología, etcétera. Entonces, es importante que si creen que su proyecto puede también, entrar en alguna de esas otras áreas, que también hagan clic en la cajita de alguna otra disciplina, y también eso hace que el proyecto tenga más chances de ser escogido, tal vez a través en otro de los ejes.
Okay, over here we have more basic information. Are you interested in volunteering? We are highly encouraging. This is going to be a volunteer-led effort, right? So clearly we have projects that are funded and then they need support. And so if you have a network of volunteers in your organizations, We would highly encourage their participation as well. I know many museums have a whole network of volunteers, for example, of docents or ushers for performing arts organizations. So if you have that network, please encourage them to become a part of this in some way. It's going to be an all hands on deck situation.
Y hay una parte en donde preguntan si pueden ser voluntarios. Y pues idealmente si tienen alguna manera de formar parte, tal vez no ustedes mismos, sino a través del equipo que tengan. O por ejemplo, también hay una parte ahí en donde te preguntas si puedes aportar tu espacio para algo, ¿no? Pues nada, al final de cuentas es un evento que va a ser empujado por el voluntariado de muchas personas. Entonces, pues, si tienen esa oportunidad de contribuir, sería muy, muy bueno, ¿no?
Okay, so moving on, we have the type of, would you like to submit an idea for an activation, event, exhibition, or project? And the previous slide described that, the one that James shared with us. So and there's more information if you click here on the document to really identify which area it falls under. And so this is where you would make that selection.
También está la parte de si quieren hacer alguna activación y bueno, ahí viene, ¿no? Si es evento, exhibición, pero qué tipo de iniciativa.
Okay, so this is the meat of your submission, 150 words max. So what is the title of your initiative? Please provide a brief description of the project. Describe how the project will represent the San Diego Tijuana region. Clearly, we are very interested in projects that speak to the experience of binationalism, the experience of fronterizo life. What does that look like? And so those are the projects that at least the Arts and Culture Dan has identified as a key guideline for our selection process. We want to make sure that it really speaks to what it means to live in this border community. In what way does the project use the lens of design? This is a World Design Capital celebration. So talk to us about design, and design can have all angles, right? Inside of the arts, there's scene design, lighting design, costume design, fashion design, exhibition design, culinary design. So there's a lot of areas, and we want you to really be very clear about how your project aligns with the design conversation.
Y bueno, en esta parte es una descripción, ahora sí, de la iniciativa. Luego viene el tipo de proyecto con 150 palabras. Y muy importante es la parte de describir cómo este proyecto representa la región Tijuana-San Diego. Pues como el evento es de los dos lados, se está poniendo mucha atención a los proyectos que tienen un impacto, digamos, binacional, transfronterizo, y por supuesto, como el evento pues es la capital mundial del diseño, hay que explicar en su proyecto cómo habla a través del diseño, ¿no?
And then also how the project celebrates design, which is probably a similar answer, but lean into the conversation of design, if you will. And please provide the objectives and success criteria for the project. What does a successful project look like for you, if executed correctly?
Ok, y luego aquí ya es la parte de los objetivos y cómo consideran que su proyecto, una vez realizado, sería, si fuera exitoso, cómo se vería, una pequeña descripción de eso.
Okay. Moving on, who is associated with the project? And so this part is important. Please don't overlook it. We want to understand that the group has identified that it's important that this project actually be able to be executed. So this is not the place to envision a project that you've never done before, that you have never created a project of similar scope or capacity before. We don't want to, this is not the place for it to be a test case. It doesn't mean that you have to have you have done the same theme before necessarily, but we want to know that you're capable of executing a successful project. And so this is where your team members are important, right? If you have this idea for engineering a sculpture, for example, if you don't show us that you're working with engineers that know how to do this, or professional public artists that have done this in the past, then we really don't have a sense of knowing whether or not you can be successful in executing the project, if that makes sense. So please make sure that we know who your team is, that and give us a little bit of a sense of their expertise.
Sí, y bueno, en esta parte va a ser importante describir un poco, ¿no? Donde dice quiénes son tus asociados en el proyecto, como para comprobar que no es la primera vez que están haciendo algo de este estilo, como para sustentar que tienen la capacidad de desarrollar el evento que dicen que, el evento o la actividad que están sometiendo, ¿no?
Mm-hmm. So who is the target audience? This is very straightforward. Who, just check all the areas that you think whom would be the target audiences. Which core focus area does the project align with? And this is that checkbox that we were talking about earlier. So could it align with arts and culture? Yes, probably, if you're in this call, but also could it align with climate change and sustainability, health and well-being, planning and placemaking, science and technology, or youth and education? Please only check the box if it really does clearly align. Don't be frivolous with it, because that doesn't help your chances. It does help your chances if it actually does clearly align with other areas.
Ok, aquí es la siguiente parte. Bueno, nomás aclarando para los que están en español, esta forma también está en español. Ahorita estamos viendo aquí la que está en inglés, pero hay una versión en español que básicamente tiene lo mismo traducido, ¿no? Pero en esta parte es escoger la audiencia, qué tipo de audiencia, hacia qué audiencia va dirigido, y luego preguntan con qué otras áreas, con qué otros ejes de la capital mundial del diseño está relacionado tu proyecto.
Sí, este lado del lado derecho es exactamente lo que está en la aplicación, para que vean. Okay. Well, has the project been executed before? This is what we were saying before. If yes, how many years has it been in existence? So we want to know that you've done this before. What stage is your project at? Is it project completion and initiation, project definition, project planning, project funding, project execution, project scaling? So give us a sense of where you are.
Sí, en esta parte pues nada más escoger en qué etapa está el proyecto, ¿no? Ahí vienen algunas opciones. Y sí, no me había dado cuenta, pero la forma en español es la que está en rojo, justo aquí a un lado.
Okay, moving on. Does your project have funding? Okay, so let's talk about funding. Of course, that's the big question all around. We are absolutely at this point giving priority to projects that are already funded or almost fully funded. There is funding opportunities down the pipeline that are not out and public yet. But for now, these are the projects that we're giving priority to. We're not asking folks to do anything for free, and especially in the arts where, you know, they say, what is it? Do it for exposure or something. So it's, and we are of the mindset that you can die of exposure. So we're not supporting that. We want to make sure that these are projects that would have happened anyway. And what we can offer is the support with resources in the marketing arm of WDC to help propel it and bring it to an international audience. For future opportunities and funding, they are coming down the pipeline, and that would be the moment to apply with projects that are not yet funded.
Ok, sí, la mayoría de los proyectos que se están apoyando ahorita pues son proyectos que ya tienen que ya tienen fondeo. Sí hay opciones para aplicar para fondos a través de WDC, pero más adelante y no es algo que está, digamos, 100% seguro. Pero, pues sí, el aplicar y formar parte de la lista de los eventos que se van a realizar en el 2024 y los proyectos de legado que la idea es que continúen, pues pueden ser promovidos y a un nivel internacional a través de la plataforma del WDC. Entonces, este, pues es algo que ayudaría mucho a impulsar cualquier proyecto.
So this is where you let us know at what percentage your project is funded. Is it fully funded? Is it partially funded? If it's not fully funded, what are your potential funding sources? So again, this is sort of giving us an inclination on whether or not this project can be executed. And does the project have a specific website? Yes or no? Some folks are already working years in advance for projects in 2024. Do you have a marketing and communications plan? Do you consider your project having long-term transformative impact to our region? Clearly, that's what we're looking for. And what support resource would be most helpful to you at this time? So this is we're looking for projects that could have long-term transformative impact for the region. And so keep that in the back of your mind as you're submitting your project. Like, is this something that's actually going to reverberate for years to come? And those are the projects that kind of rise to the top for us.
Ok, en esta parte algunas preguntas del financiamiento del proyecto, que si hay financiamiento sí o no, qué porcentaje, cuáles son los posibles fuentes de financiamiento, si es público o privado, que si tiene sitio web, el plan, si hay un plan de marketing y bueno, información como esencial del proyecto. Y la pregunta más importante prácticamente sería esta, ¿no? La penúltima, si el proyecto consideran que tiene un impacto transformador a largo plazo en la región. Pues idealmente es que sí, ¿no? Es lo que se está buscando y pues sería bueno que a la hora de que estén pensando en proponer algún proyecto, pues que tengan en mente que la respuesta a esta pregunta sea sí y y pues bueno, la última no la alcancé a leer.
¿Qué apoyo
Ah, sí.
recurso? Ujú.
Sí, ¿cuál es el apoyo en este momento que, que estarían buscando en su proyecto? Es la última pregunta, pero pues sí, prácticamente lo más importante es pensar en este impacto a largo plazo en la región.
Okay, and when we're talking about how we can support you, this network of DAN leaders, right? So the committees of volunteer leaders in arts and culture that we've gathered and that have gathered for all the various other DANs of health and well-being and the other areas that we spoke about. This is a network of very connected arts leaders that have a variety of different resources that can support one another, and they're here to support you. So when you say what other type of support or resource could be helpful to you, everyone of course will want to say funding, but there are lots of other areas of support, whether it's marketing support, design support, event venue, for example. There's a lot of areas where these highly connected arts leaders can support your project, and that's what they're there for. That's what they've signed up for. Did you want to say something?
Me perdí un poco ahí, Susana.
Okay. No, básicamente que en esta zona hay una sección, en la última pregunta, que qué tipo de recursos o apoyo se necesitaría. y hay diferente tipo de recursos en este grupo de dance, de los líderes que se han reunido para apoyarles. Puede ser que se presta un espacio para ensayos o para una exhibición, puede ser que les apoyen con diseño para su proyecto, o sea, en mercadotecnia, o sea, hay muchas oportunidades de que este grupo les apoye a su proyecto, que no necesariamente es financiarlo, ¿verdad? Okay, so moving on. Do you have more information or anything else to share? If you have a presentation or more information you'd like to share, please upload it below so you can submit a designed proposal of some kind or just a Word document, whatever you need. And if yes, please include the link below. And then I think that's submit. So this is the process, not too complicated, but we did want to go through it with you. And at this point, we'll open up the floor for questions. So if you have a question, please just raise your hand and we'll address it.
Bueno, pues eso fue un repaso, ¿no? Del formato. Queríamos hacerlo junto con ustedes y ahorita se abre el espacio para preguntas y respuestas.
Okay, Fernando. Go ahead and unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, Susana. Hi, so I have there's 2 questions I would like to ask if it's okay. So the first question is, do we have to apply as an organization, or is there a possibility to apply like a project leader or something like that? Just como persona física sería en español, digo, siendo residente de México, si se puede aplicar como persona física o tiene que ser a través de alguna sociedad.
My understanding is that individuals can submit individual projects. Am I right about that, James?
En la propuesta creo que sí decía individual, pero como al principio pedía organización, no sé si...
Creo que solo si se aplica, pero James, can you answer that, clarify?
Yes, you can apply as an individual and as an organization. If an individual is applying on behalf of an organization, it will be the organization that gets endorsed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, James.
Okay.
And the second question would be, if, for example, I do submit a project and don't get selected, do I have time to then apply as a volunteer for something else?
Yes.
Okay.
Volunteers are very welcome all around. We'll need all the help we can get.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Jean, I think you're next. You can unmute.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Hi. I have a couple questions. One is, well, a couple of ideas. One is that we're representing a museum that's coming into the area. They'll be building out their space. So for instance, they would have a preview of the museum in their space. So that's something that's viable, right?
A preview of like an
physical
exhibition or a preview?
Yeah, the preview of this museum coming in. That's going to be building out, but it's not going to be quite finished yet.
And are we talking about walking into a physical space, or what does the preview look like? Like a
Yeah.
tour?
Yeah, so it's a physical space.
I mean, if it aligns with the goals of everything we spoke about, if it has if we were talking about design, clearly architectural design is on the list of that. So that makes sense to me. Does it have a binational, does it speak to the conversation of living in this binational region? If it goes
right, all of that
as long as it applies, I would see that happening. Sure.
And are you looking for like a one-time presentation, something that's going to go on?
It could be both. It could be a one-time
Okay.
sort of workshop. It could be a year-long exhibition, or a 6-month exhibition. It could be a weekend performance. It could be there's a variety. And James, would you mind just reminding us the 4 sections, which is event? What were they?
For sure. The 4 types of initiative in broadest terms are activations that are smaller and maybe more time sensitive. Then you have an event, which may be a single day or multiple day. Then you have an exhibition, which could be over a period of time. And then a project, which is a bigger grouping of ideas that will take more time to develop and put on. So those are the four sort of quadrants as you're thinking about your submission.
Okay, that helps. And I got distracted at that exact slide. So
Okay,
thank you.
no problem. And this was all recorded, so you'll get
Yeah.
the recording later. Thank you, Jean. Okay, Steffi, I think you were next.
My question is in regards to the part on the application where you mentioned about funding, like you're prioritizing projects that are funded already. What if a project has like a funding plan, more so like it's a ticketed event or something, so and with opportunities for corporate sponsorship?
Mhm.
Is that like I'm not sure like if that would still count as like something that you would consider to be funded, or like if there's a plan for the monies to be there?
Yeah, I think that the way to answer that is we're looking for projects that have the capacity to be successful. And so if you have a team of people who produce events regularly and you have a ticketing system and you've done this before with success, then, you know, I'm not sure if you're with an organization, but if you're with an organization, clearly there's already a staff there, you know, a team of people who can execute the project, then that would be sort of a funded or partially funded project that we would absolutely support. And especially if you already have a plan for corporate sponsorships. And what's really nice is that, you know, once you receive the support from WDC, then you get to brand this with the WDC logo, and that helps with fundraising efforts and helps with corporate sponsorship, surely. So I would say yes.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. Oh, sorry, I asked to unmute you. Jennifer, I think you were next.
Hi, Susanna, Rudy, James, Carlos. Thank you for this. I think my question has been largely answered, but I just wanted to kind of outline it a bit and make sure I'm thinking along the right lines here. We are thinking of doing some like design workshops, community convenings, etc., around our future home project. So our art center project that is gaining steam, and we thought since it, you know, even though the portion of that project that would involve a community build aspect would, in terms of, I'm having trouble articulating this, the part of the project that would seem to align well with what WDC wants to see would actually take place generally later in the development process, but we thought we would try to bump it up and get some like early intel to incorporate in the our design process and as part of World Design Capital. So I just wanted to make sure, you know, the project, the funding question was what I was coming up with. We have a funding plan for this, but the funding is not in place right now. So that's kind of what we were wondering about, is if that
Are
would...
you talking about your, like the actual full residency, the like multi-million-dollar build out that you're working on?
Yes.
So
yes.
what is the experience or project that the user would have?
So we want to convene members of the community to help us design certain aspects of the arts center.
I see.
And it, you know, obviously,
so they're like workshops that help guide
yeah,
the design of the building. Is that
exactly
correct?
And also potentially do an exhibition showing what we are going to be able to build. So there could be a workshop component, and there could be also an exhibition component. So it sounds like it sounds like it's aligned with what you're looking for.
I think that in a scenario like that, it's doing maybe two things. So one of them would be inviting architectural students perhaps, or professionals who are in that industry to have those conversations, and or have architects and engineers in the room to help lead that conversation versus
Right.
right, so that
Yeah.
the community is sort of learning about
Mhm.
design through the process. So something like that
Mhm.
seems like it could be successful. Sure.
Okay, yeah, it's sort of halfway in between. We would have the so-called experts, you know, the architects, designers, whatever, on site, but we're really looking to solicit information from the community and input about what they want to see the spaces used for. So it's really a community build process is what we're talking about. I don't know if that
I think
tracks
what
with.
you probably want to do is go back with your team and really find a very narrow focus, something that's very,
Mhm.
very clear. Like, this is a weekend workshop where this thing happens, and it's a community building between architects and designers and layman community members who have creative ideas. Like, make it very focused, have a
Mhm.
more narrow focus. Right now it kind of feels like a little bit of everything, but it would be really hard to promote what that is unless it's a very clear couple of days or weekend or something that makes it very digestible.
Okay, and can it take place anytime in 2024?
We
Or-
are hoping
yes.
to fill the calendar
Okay.
something happening every single day of the year. So there's a lot of opportunities here. And again, this is just the arts and culture dance. So there's going to be events happening
Yeah.
in all the different dans. So we hope to just
Okay.
fill the calendar. Yes, that's our hope.
Okay, so
Okay.
if we were to do something focused like that, like a workshop, but also an exhibition, would you suggest we file 2 proposals or file a proposal that shows 2 events that we might want to do?
I would suggest you
Hold
file
on.
2 proposals, Jennifer.
Mhm. Okay.
That provides the distinct scope, and then we can review that. And if it's endorsed, then we can promote it through the WDC platform and calendar, because that's really
Okay.
the benefit of that first layer of endorsement. It's giving
Mhm.
you and different organizations visibilities into the initiatives that you're conducting in 2024. Then the
Okay.
subsets of that are projects that are going to be have that regional impact that Susanna and Rudy talked about. Those are the ones that are supported by the DANs. So
Right.
2 layers.
Okay, so but you're looking at impact over the long haul. So if we're building an art center that's going to provide affordable artist housing for like 70 people and a bunch of studios that are affordable, that would be considered an impact that you're interested in, right?
Yes.
Clearly, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I
Sure
appreciate it.
thing. John, you're next.
Yeah, I was also going to ask about timing, but it's sort of been answered. So anything that happens in the 2024 time period. But when will it be sort of an ongoing effort of deciding, you know, who the branding of WDC will go toward, or are you sort of looking for a particular time to consider all the submissions and make a decision all at once?
No, we are doing it in a, what do you call it? Like a
A
rolling
rolling fashion?
Yeah, in a rolling fashion all the way through January. Did that answer your question?
It did.
Okay. JPG.
Thank you, Susanna. Yes, one question for you would be, so what if we're like in San Diego and Tijuana? Can we do an exhibition in both places? Or are we limited only to San Diego?
Oh, no, yes, this is a binational program and project. So we love that. We love that there be something on both sides of the border. That would be amazing. Yeah, so
Okay.
if you're just clarify, the goal and the hope is that you have already identified where those exhibition spaces are before you submit your project, or at least have a really good, I mean, I wouldn't submit something unless you have figured out the logistics of how it's going to come together.
Of course, yeah. So on our project, we're planning on having like QR codes scattered around important areas in both cities. Obviously, we would need permits from the city in that case. So can we reach out to you guys in terms of being able to provide those QR codes in certain areas?
Reach out to us for permitting?
Like for permitting, or to just have a backup that you guys back us up and we reach out to certain venues or cities, like, hey, we want to post a QR code here where we're going to be showcasing something if you scan this code.
If I understand you correctly, you want to know whether we can like vouch for you
Exactly.
so that it will open more doors. Is that the idea?
Exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, I think that you should have already opened a lot of doors before you ask for the
Yeah, of course.
the
No,
request.
we have
So
something.
if you
We do
already have a
something.
good group of people, you know,
Mhm.
that have said yes to this, like a good list on both sides of the border as you're hoping,
Mhm.
that would give you a really strong proposal because you've already started the momentum, you've already
Mhm.
done some of the legwork, you already have figured out some of the logistics, and then you're more likely. And then with the WDC does it, you know, the support, because you'll have the branding of WDC, that should be able to open a lot of doors for you. Regarding the city side and the permitting, that is 100% a question for the city. It's not something that we would be able to
Okay. Yeah,
do
that makes
for you.
sense.
I don't think. Maybe Carlos or James, you have a different idea about that. I don't know how much.
No, let me try to add a little bit to that question, and thank you. Supongo que eres Juan Pablo.
Juan Pablo, yes.
So one thing that we believe, you know, being part of this WC network, family, community, by being an endorsed project, exhibition, initiative, whatever it is that you do get connected to this network that allows for an easier way to approach certain resources. So, you know, I wouldn't want to get into specific of each project, but I do think that being part of the WDC network allows you to connect to venues, people, and other projects where, yes, it enhances what you're trying to do. So I think there's definitely an opportunity, and that's what we're all here for, because together we create this network that accelerates, enhances, and provides more visibility and more connection to each other. And one of the main intentions of these design to action networks, and Susana is very good at pointing out, this is one of 6 focus areas, and they all have a similar process going on. And when we weave this network together, that you know, that's the true legacy of World Design Capital. These partnerships and these connections and these bridges that we're creating with the amazing work that you guys are already doing. So yes, by connecting, I do think that, you know, we can stick a bunch of QR codes all over the place in Tijuana and San Diego. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, that has been the coolest part of all of this, is that all of these different DAN networks are meeting regularly and talking about their projects across industries, across the board, and discussing how we are going to transform the region, which is so exciting. And so thank you for being a part of that. Anyone else want to raise their, if there are, hay preguntas en español. Si hay alguien que tiene algo pendiente, por favor, levanten la mano o quítense el.
Susanna, may I add something?
Yeah.
To build on the idea of the design to action networks, we were trying to solve a problem, which was what happens after 2024, and how do we create a platform, a network that could be community owned and community supported. So by no means are these design to action networks owned by WDC or UCSD or any other entity. They are truly owned by the community leaders and members that are organizing them. We are just providing a framework and resources and guidance to help them succeed. So the more that the community can come together to support these, the better the outcome and the more impact that we're going to create. And that's why I'm so passionate about this and so thankful for the likes of Rudy and Susanna and the rest of the team members around the Dans. So thank you, Susanna and Rudy. I appreciate you very much.
Sure thing. We have 3 minutes left. Steffi, you have a question?
Yeah, just one more question. I was wondering, have you incorporated or have you awarded any projects that had been submitted previously in the year the WDC resignation or your branding or anything?
Have some of them been selected yet? Yes, we
Yeah.
have. I think it's 4 or 5 projects that have already been selected through this process. It's been like a rolling. So every month we review all the applications that go in every month. One of them is an event that we're producing, Vanguard Culture, which is the test version of this festival that's coming back next year as part of WDC program, is happening this September 2nd, and all of you are invited. Since you are creative professionals, it's only $20 instead of $40. And this is sort of a good example of like bringing together across industries, across border. We have creatives from both sides of the border participating. And we really leaned into this network, the Secretary of Culture of Baja California, and had those conversations to make sure that we had creatives from that side of the border involved. And that's sort of our test run of what we want to produce next year as a cultural tourism initiative that would come back as a biennial event and have leave a long-lasting legacy of cultural tourism for the region, not just for San Diego. So think about it in that scope. I'll drop the link here for anyone who wants to join us. We'd love to have you.
For sure. Thank you. I think we should talk about that offline too. And then one more thing, I was wondering, have there been any dates selected for like the street festival or for any of the other bigger WDC events?
So you're talking about calendaring issues, right? So
yes.
The only one that I know of that has a specific date is the one that we're involved in, which is August 31st for the arts and culture sector. But there are lots of other groups that have selected. So I don't think we have a full calendar yet, do we?
Let me respond to that because I think it's relevant. So WDC, as every other World Design Capital, gets to organize 7 signature events. We already did the first one this year at the end of May, the signing ceremony, and the other 6 already have dates set. So yes, then the WDC program, of course, is made up of the signature events, then the community programs or community events that this is, the initiatives that we're gathering. Susanna's example is one of that, or one of those. But yes, there are dates now set, and they will be shared via our website shortly. Just to give you a little taste of what that is, we're going to have the World Design Spotlight, which is year-long, and it's more of a digital platform of telling the region's stories through design. Then we have the Street Festival in Tijuana in April. We have the World Design Experience, most likely in partnership with San Diego Design Week in September. And then the other 3 happen in the middle of November. And that's the Design Policy Conference, the Network of Cities meeting, and the Convocation Ceremony.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there time for one more quick question?
Sure, let's do one last one. We're 1 past the hour, but why not?
Oh, okay. Sorry. A lot of what we're talking about are current kind of projects or future-oriented projects. What about looking back in the history of design already that has happened in the region? Is that something that you think will be supported?
Are you looking to create an exhibition of the history of design? Is that your interest?
Oh, I don't know yet, but I'm just thinking topically, is that something that would be of interest to so much? I'm a designer and a design educator, and so much has already happened in our region with regard to the power of design. And is that a valid approach to kind of look back at what's already been contributed?
I mean, I'd be interested in seeing what that looks like in its execution. But I would say that if you're looking to create an exhibition of the history of design and potentially look into the future, because we're talking about legacy and where we're headed, and as long as it speaks to the region that we live in very specifically, that would be something that would be of interest, I think, to this group. But we have to you'd have to kind of clarify
Sure.
exactly what that looks like in action. Did that answer your question?
More
Sort
or
of?
less.
Okay. All right. Feel
Thank
free to follow up with us if you have more. John, you're next.
Hey everyone, sorry if he makes noise. I'll make this quick. Hey, two quick questions. Is there anyone or anywhere we could see or meet the Design Action Network leaders or teams?
Sure. Yeah, not all of them have been filled out completely, but I can share the ones who have submitted their information.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, just a moment. Thank you all for hanging out a little longer. I appreciate that. Wait, I think it's this one. Yes. So this is our sort of slide deck with our vision statement. I'll share our vision statement. The vision is to identify and promote regional arts and culture and public space initiatives that uniquely represent our binational culture and have an enduring potential to address critical social issues. By bringing together experts, innovators, creative change makers across the region, we aim to uplift artists, foster collaboration, and drive meaningful and sustainable change. Here's the group, here's the DAN team. So there's myself, Rudy, Isha, who's part of our support team, as well as Eleanor. They're serving to assist us with administrative needs. Calvin Mays, design professional. Robin Roberts, a theater professional, the scene designer. Miguel Arraiz, who was participated in the World Design Capital Valencia last year. Sandy Cottrell, Director of Art Walk San Diego. Moore Shilon, UCSD lecturer in Urban Studies and Planning. Allison Andrews, who was the founder of Fashion Week San Diego. Edwin Lohr, a community member and a leader in the Pride festivals and the Gay Men's Chorus. Patricia Maldonado is a binational dancer and choreographer and talented artist. Tatiana Sizanenko is a PhD art history professor. This is the Tijuana team. Laura Estela Huerta, industrial designer and artist. Creative director, Armando Garcia Orso, director of museums and galleries for the Instituto de Cultura, I see. Mariana Escobedo Muñoz, artistic director of the Conservatorio de Danza de Mexico. And then there's a few folks that haven't filled out their slots yet. So Alejandro Santander, Ana Martinez, and I think that's all we have here. And it's still open for if anyone wanted to become more involved. We certainly could use all the support we can get.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Anybody else? John, if you want to join our group, let me know.
Yeah, just one last question. How can I join the group if I'm interested in being more engaged and participant?
Yeah, I would say reach out to us and send an email. We'll put our contact information in the Dropbox, and it is a commitment. You know, it's a volunteer role, but it is a commitment. It's not just selecting the work that gets to be part of the program, but it's also helping to facilitate and provide resources to all these groups to help make sure that they're a success. So if you have the bandwidth and the heart and the interest in making that effort, we'd be very happy to talk to you about getting more involved.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Ver-
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
A very, very, very quick question. Can you save as you go on this application, or do you have to kind of pretty much fill it out in one shot? I haven't tried.
Unfortunately, you have to fill it out in one shot.
Okay. Okay. No, good to know. We
Yeah,
can
so
plan
go
for
through
that.
this version
Thanks.
first, and then
Yeah.
when you're ready, go ahead and apply. Anyone else?
Great. Thanks so
Ali, I'm sticking around for a little bit. I know people are dropping off, but we're recording. So Ali.
Hi, thank you so much for the last minute question. But just to clarify, so if we do performance arts projects, productions, and we're thinking of submitting something that has been done in some capacity, but not the full capacity, would that be okay? Because we do have the team and can do the in-house capacity, just hasn't been like this particular story hasn't been totally fleshed out.
Yeah,
That's
we're
okay.
expecting that people are programming things they've never done before, but we just want to know that you have the capacity to execute it. So you've produced performances before, and you have a team that can pull that off. So that's what we want to know, is that you have done similar projects in similar size or scope, and you can execute it. So the goal of course is that we don't want to endorse a project that then fails because they just didn't think through the logistics of how to make it happen, and they didn't have the capacity to make it happen, right? Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm happy to take maybe 2 more minutes, 10 after the hour. No? Okay.
I had a question. You mentioned the Dropbox and you're showing all these slides and it's amazing. I'm wondering, do I have access to it later, or how would I go about accessing that?
We'll have access to this recording. Those slides are, I think, internal documents, but maybe there will be an external document that can be shared. James or Carlos, is there a version for the public to digest?
There is the general FAQs around submission, which I added to the chat and can be distributed after this. There's also FAQs around the Design to Action networks. And over a period of time, we'll be publishing the endorsed community events.
Thanks.
Okay.
Of course.
Olivia?
Yeah, real quick, I'll drop my email in the chat. If there's ever specific resources like the form Q&A, FAQs that you would like a copy of, you can reach out to me directly and I will send you that information.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here. Thank you, James and Carlos, for taking the time to help explain everything that we're up to. Thank you, Rudy, for being my Tijuana counterpart. And we're really excited to make some magic happen. Thank you, everybody.
Susana.
Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Adios.
Adios.